Good morning, everyone. My name is Shannon White, and I am the Chief Operating Officer for KICA. It's my pleasure to welcome you here this morning to KICA's annual membership meeting. Today's meeting is being attended by our members both in person here in Sandcastle and via Zoom. The last time we were physically together for this meeting was 2 years ago, the start of the COVID pandemic. We shut down the company right after this meeting. So it is great to be together once again. I have the pleasure of introducing to you this morning our board of directors. So when introduced, if the board member would just raise their hand and say hello. First is our chair, Dave Morley. Dave is completing his 3 years of service this morning. Our vice chair, Jerry McGee. Our treasurer, Alex Fernandez. Our secretary, Brad McIlvain. Director, Beth Zampino. Director, David DeStefano. David is also completing his 3 years of service this morning, but he re-upped, got himself re-elected. And then our developer director, Amanda Mole. For those of you who don't know Amanda was appointed in the fall of 2021 to replace longtime developer director Townsend Clarkson. I'd also like to take a moment to welcome our newly elected board member, Lisa Mascolo, who is over here. At this time, I'd like to turn the meeting over to the chair of the board, Dave Morley, in order to call this meeting to order.
We will now call the meeting to order. And starting, I want to appoint our parliamentarian. Our parliamentarian for today's meeting is Jennifer Ivey, right here, from Walker, Gresset, and Linton. Jennifer's firm provides our staff and board legal advice from time to time. We welcome Jennifer and thank her for being here today. Next, we'll move on to approval of the minutes from our March 12th meeting held virtually on Friday, March 12th. The minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes as written? In a second? Any discussion? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The minutes of last year's annual meeting are approved. And Shannon will now provide the certification of quorum and the election process.
Thank you, Dave. In order to hold the meeting today, we needed 51% member participation by proxy. Proxies were assigned by 54.7% of voters. Proxies are for attendance only and cannot be used to vote at today's meeting on any other matter. For our director election this year, we had 8 candidates for the board to fill the 2 seats for Dave Morley and David DeStefano. The candidate biography information was published in our weekly emails and on the KICA website. In addition, we posted video interviews with each of our candidates online, as well as a video from the Meet the Candidates event held here in the Sandcastle. Electronic and telephone voting ended at 5 p.m. on Wednesday, February the 9th. We had 61.3% of total votes cast in the director election. Votes were certified by our third-party election administrator, votenow.com, and you elected Lisa Mascolo, and you returned David DeStefano to the board for a second term. So congratulations to you both. Also, please join me in expressing our thanks to all those who offered to serve their community by serving on the KICA board. At the conclusion of this meeting, Dave Morley will step down from the board and Lisa Mascolo will be seated. As many of you know, achieving quorum is often difficult for us. Aside from the many reminders that we send to you about participating, we also offer a $500 award randomly selected from those who participate. I know you're ready to see if it's you, right? I'm pleased to announce that this year's winner, This year's winner is Mr. and Mrs. Jack Curtis, the owner of 1228 Pine Siskin in Greenslake. If Mr. and Mrs. Curtis are not present today, staff will reach out and let them know. Thank you for everyone who participated. One other business item is related to the number required for a petition of the membership to compel a referendum on a specific board action. At the March 7th, 2022 meeting of the KICA board, the board passed a change in bylaw language to more clearly and easily determine the number required by aligning it with our voting numbers. For our members present, the required petition number would be very similar to the voting numbers you are already familiar with. Only one member may sign per property. Each improved property would count for 2. Each unimproved property would count for 1. For record, the number needed for a petition this year is 9,522. This number will be in effect until next year's annual meeting, when the next number is reported. Now I'd like to turn the meeting back over to you, Dave, for the chair's report.
Thanks, Shannon. Well, much has been accomplished over the last year. KICA's in fantastic financial position. It's a little hard to believe that about 20 months ago we put on a hiring freeze and cut budgets across the board because of the uncertainty associated with the pandemic. But what actually happened was we had record real estate sales, and our reserves were strengthened significantly, and I'm sure Alex will speak to that in a few moments. We've also become the most transparent board in recent memory. We instituted bi-monthly discussions between members of the community and the board, and our board response to member inquiries, although still a work in progress, has substantially improved. We piloted the concept of task forces in 2020 with the Flood Mitigation Task Force. The task force had defined objectives. When those objectives were met, the task force disbanded. In 2021, we've expanded that concept. We now have members involved in meaningful work where their expertise can help the thinking of the board and the staff. When the work's accomplished, most of the current task forces will be disbanded. Yet some may become permanent standing committees because the nature of their work is ever changing and can't be defined by a beginning and an end. Another area where the board has taken strong position is quality standards. This started with listening to members about the quality of some of our infrastructure. Atlantic Beach had coarse paving. Some worried about the buildup of sand at boardwalks. The quality and maintenance of our common landscaping was put into question, and the quality of our leisure trails. Due to labor shortages in 2021, the work on cleaning the boardwalks lagged, but all other areas we made significant progress. We started with rebuilding and widening a significant portion of our leisure trails. We did that because it's our most used amenity. We are looking at a second part of the leisure trails with our amenities task force. We then tackled roads. We had an outside engineering firm rate our roads on a scale of excellent, good, fair, and poor. Based on an objective standard, 25% of our roads were deemed to be poor or fair. Last year, we approved a budget to bring all our roads up to good or excellent and have adjusted our reserve study to maintain all these roads at this new standard. Furthermore, we've minimized the patching of roads, and we will look for natural breakpoints when we resurface. This will greatly reduce the kind of checkerboard effect of patching solutions. By the end of the year, all of our infrastructure will have defined objective standards. Now, these are just a couple of examples of work done in 2021. We could spend a lot of time talking about the valuable work of the Sandcastle Task Force, the Security and Enforcement Task Force, and the Amenities Task Force. In fact, you'll see shortly surveys from the Sandcastle Task Force and the Amenities Task Force asking the community for input that can guide their efforts. However, the most important role of the board is to support our amazing staff. The most objective measure of this staff is our community survey, which was completed last year. We had 3,100 responses. The results were overwhelmingly positive. We changed the survey this year a little bit because before we had a 5-point scale. The 5-point scale had 2 favorable, 2 unfavorable boxes, and 1 that was neutral. And it was hard to analyze what neutral meant. So we changed it, and we included, instead of this neutral, the middle box, we included not sure or don't use as an option. There were 28 questions in the survey covering amenities, infrastructure, security, and communications. The average response was 92% favorable and 8% unfavorable, excluding the not sure or don't use answers. That's almost a 12-to-1 favorable rating. The survey did highlight areas for improvement, many of which are being addressed through our task forces and our operations people. But the clear message from our members was a ringing endorsement of the work of our staff. I'm also proud that, starting with the leadership of our Finance Committee members, the board took aggressive action this year to support the staff in pay raises and transportation costs. Maintaining the quality of the staff is essential to maintaining the qualities of Kiowa that we all love. Today, my term serving on the KICA board ends. I'm proud of what the board, staff, and community has accomplished over the last few years. I'm optimistic that the new board will provide excellent leadership, goal setting, and oversight, and the staff will continue to do the outstanding work in executing against their goals. Now I'll turn it over to Alex for the Treasurer's Report.
Well, good morning. Oh, that sounds good. Oh, I'm so glad to be here in person, right? After 2 years and see all of you. I'm going to break my report into 2 parts. The first part is to tell you a little bit about the doings of the Finance Committee and basically what we accomplished during the year. But I'm supposed to pass the presentation. Okay. I just had operation on my eyes, and now I need glasses, so I don't understand that. Yeah, I agree, and how much I paid for it too, on top of it, and then I need glasses. So, anyway, I apologize. Let's go to the first slide. Let me tell you a little bit about who makes up the Finance Committee. First, myself as the board treasurer, or the board treasurer is the chairman of the committee. Dale Schoen, who's here with us, he's standing in the back. He's our new finance director. Welcome aboard, Dale. Yes. He's a CPA, extensive experience in nonprofit, just like us. Before I go on, after presenting Dale, I do want to recognize Jane Overton, who's not here with us today. Jane, was our previous finance director, and we called upon her to come in and help us during this period without a director of finance. She was, she came up to bat. She did a great job. I know that Shannon really appreciated her. I know that I did. And I want to ask for a round of applause for her coming back and helping us during this period. Thank you. Thank you, Jane. Thank you. The committee this year is made up of Jim DeLilla, Paul Hennessy, Jerry Hornea, who just submitted his resignation. He sold his property in Kiowa. We will miss him. Paul Ho, Lisa Mascolo. Lisa, we will miss her at the Finance Committee too, but she will be joining the board later on. Bran Petranovic and Jeff Porter. I want to thank them all enormously for the work that they did. We met every month. We had subgroups that worked throughout the year. We got a lot accomplished. So again, a round of applause for them, thanking them for the work that they did. So let's talk about some of the things that the Finance Committee accomplished on the year. And I tried to work in the spirit of disclosure to all of our members. And all of our meetings were open to the public. We obviously virtually because of the pandemic. We recorded all of our meetings and available on YouTube. And all the minutes are on the webpage on Kika US. So all of our policies, all of our financials have now been placed on the webpage, again, in the spirit of disclosure to our members. So let me go over some of the things that we've accomplished throughout the year. First, the first major job that we did was bid our external auditing firm. Our previous auditing firm had been around for 19 years. We went out to bid, received 7 bids, and at the end we selected Keefe McCullough. I think they're the first work that they've done so far. We're very happy for them to be here, and I think that was a big step for us to take and choose a new bidding firm, auctioning firm. The second is we reviewed all of our insurance coverages. Insurance is a critical piece of our expense, and obviously to be sure that we safeguard, our assets, against things that could happen throughout the year. We reviewed all those policies, made sure that we're covered as we should be, reduce or increase some deductibles, reduce some on some cases. We contracted cyber insurance, something that today is a major risk of being hacked. I know that we don't have any financial information on all of our members, but we do have personal information, emails, addresses, etc. We wanted to be sure that we'd be covered. We could also be interrupted for some income. When our commercial people come in to the gate, they have to pay a fee. So we wanted to be sure that in case we got hacked for that process, that we'd be covered for any losses occurred during that hacking. So cyber insurance was contracted. We reviewed our investment policy. We're a large asset organization with assets or investment funds over $20 million. We wanted to be sure that the policy was clear, not only for today, but for future boards, for the boards and the finance committee to have a clear guidelines how our funds should be deposited, how our funds should be invested. So we reviewed that. All of these policies, again, are available on the webpage for our members to review and comment on them. We issued a reserve policy. The reserves are an important, critical piece of our financials, to make sure that we're protected for the future. So we also reviewed it, made clear guidelines, again, for the present board and future boards to be able to follow, to understand how we should manage these funds and how they should be handled. We posted, now our reserve fund are basically follow guidelines from a specialist, from a professional that we hire outside to come in and evaluate how we should fund these reserves, to project our needs for the future, to evaluate the cost of improving our roads or maintaining our roads. So we have an annual reserve that is done. It's in the process now. At the end of this month, we will be seeing his 2021 study. The Finance Committee will look at it and then make any recommendations to the board. That reserve study, again, on the webpage for all the members to look at, analyze, make any comments if necessary. Our quarterly financials. We went to a mode of doing quarterly financials. Quarterly financials that provide a lot more information for our members, a lot more detail, to know where our money's being spent, where our money is being invested, how we're doing throughout the year. We're going to continue to improve that. I'm not there yet to say that this is the final document. Dale knows that. We've talked about that, and Shannon knows that because we've talked about that. I think we took the first step of providing this quarterly that gives you a lot more information how our financials are doing, how we're progressing during the year. More to come in the coming year. We paid off a mortgage loan. We're a debt-free organization. We have no debt. We have a lot of cash, and there was no reason for us to have no reason for us to have a mortgage loan paying whatever it was, as low as it could have been, 3.5%, 4%, if I recall. With some of the rates out there in the short-term markets of being negative or close to zero, there was no reason for us to have a mortgage loan out there. So we went to the board. The board approved the payment of that mortgage. So our building is free of debt. We're all free. We don't have any debt. We revised the storm policy. This is something of concern to all of us. You know, what happens in case of a storm? How is Kika going to financially handle that situation? We went back and rewrote the policy and made a recommendation to the board of increasing. We have a reserve in case of a storm of $500,000. We increased it to $1 million. We didn't feel that $500,000 was sufficient to really cover, some kind of catastrophe on a storm. And not only that, outlined for the boards, this board and future boards, to follow a guideline of how to use that $1 million now in case of a storm. All of these policies, again, I repeat, are posted on the web page for you to review, to take a look at, make any comments if you feel necessary. We issued a new Finance Committee charter. Again, to make it clear for those people that participate in the Finance Committee, how long their terms would be, 1 4-year term, to know exactly that not the whole Finance Committee goes off in 1 year. We wanted to have continuation on the Finance Committee. We clear what their duties are, what the responsibilities are of the Finance Committee. So we issued a new charter. The board approved that charter as well, too. Again, on the web page for you to review and make any comments that are necessary. And the last thing on my list is we're in the final stage of reviewing the Financial Controls Manual. This is a very important manual. It will go to the board at their next board meeting. And basically, it's internal controls to be sure when there's any disbursement of funds, that the disbursement of funds are in the proper manner, are done clearly, so that our funds are protected. One very important point that's being included in this Financial Controls Manual, for the first time, it will have a conflict of interest statement for all employees, as well as the board and the Finance Committee to sign. Conflict of influence statement, something that has never been done at Kika. We want to be sure that anybody doing business with us, there are no conflicts with anybody, either on the staff or on the board or on the Finance Committee. So, very important step. Let me thank the board first for giving me and the Finance Committee the space to be able to do all of this, to get this accomplished, and their support. And there were no issues. Everybody on the board was behind making all these changes and disclosing all this information to our members. So I want to thank the board for that support and that space that they gave us. And I want to thank Shannon and the staff. This required a lot of work. There's no doubt. It required, their full participation, their full support. I want to thank Ellen, who, hears from us regularly on coordinating the meetings, coordinating information, materials. We put a lot of work on the staff, and I personally, Shannon, appreciate, and I know I'm talking for the whole Finance Committee, appreciating how you cooperated with us for us to be able to get this all accomplished. So thank you, and please let's an applause to Shannon. Okay, let's go to the second stage or second part of my presentation today. Probably the one more important to all of you anyway, and that's our financials. What I want to do is I want to break up some of the pieces of it. I don't want to bore you with showing you the total balance sheet and the P&L. I want to point some numbers to you that I believe would be of interest to you, and in the purpose of disclosing some more information to all of you. So the first important thing, our auditing firm has issued a clean audit for 2021. The Finance Committee approved that recommendation, and the board on last Monday at the board meeting also approved the audit for 2021. So this is the legal verbiage, by the way. You know, they don't say clean audit, they don't say unqualified anymore. They say that they did not find, they will not make any material changes to the numbers, or, you know, it's some legal. But at the end of the day, we have a clean audit, and that's excellent. That's very good. So we should all feel good about that. But let's talk about some of the numbers that I will plan, or I would like to plan to focus on, or I'd like our treasurer to I should say, I shouldn't be ahead of the game on that, our treasurer to focus on in future years, and some information for you to understand. The first is, if you look at, you know, our current assets, okay, the largest line on there is cash and cash equivalents, $11,300,000. Now, I don't think most of us wouldn't have $11 million in our bank accounts, in our checking account. That's basically what it means, which means it doesn't generate any interest. So this is a top priority for Dale, our new finance director. He knows this. I know we've talked to Shannon on a regular basis about this. We're a very cash-rich organization, but we got to deal with it so that it's in our interest. And in our interest would be for these funds to generate interest. So this is at the end of the year. Again, during January, because our assessments go out, our billing of the assessments go out, that's another $10 million in 1 month. So it's just a lot of cash for us to have around without generating interest. This has got to be a top priority for us during 2022. The second line that I'd like to point out to you, I believe I'm seeing the same thing. No, did I step myself? I'm sorry, I went ahead. Okay, here we go. Sorry. Is fixed assets. You know, if somebody would look at, you look at your balance sheet and you said, Kika only has $2,800,000 in fixed assets. That doesn't make sense. I mean, look at this beautiful building. This can't be $2,800,000, right? Look at all our roads. Look at our bridges. How could that be? Well, the reason for that is that we cannot place them on our balance sheet because they're not for sale. We cannot sell them. So they have no commercial value. Sandcastle has no commercial value. Our roads have no commercial value. Our bridges have no commercial value because we cannot sell them because they're owned by all of you, by all of us. Okay? So the only assets that you see on the balance sheet are our administration building. Yes, we bought that, and we can sell that if necessary or if needed or for whatever reasons. And there are some other minor, equipment, the equipment that we use, our automobiles, etc. But at the end of the day, it's a small number compared to what we're really worth in assets that are not reflected in your balance sheet. So I wanted all of you to understand that, because when you read this, you say, wait a minute, where's all the other assets? Okay, so. All right, let's talk about revenue, okay? So during 2021, our total revenues accounted to $12,810,000 plus investment income. This is just the operating part of the business, not the reserve account. Okay, I'll talk about the reserve account in a minute. Just the operating part. Investment income and royalty. Royalty is basically Comcast. Comcast pays us $287,000, or paid us $287,000 last year. We get basically a commission on all the Comcast business on the island. Okay, so how does that? Where's the important piece here of the 12 million is assessments. That's really where So let me break down how. Let me break down how this total comes out. Basically, 80% of our revenue is assessments. 80% of our followed by commercial access fees. All those trucks that come in through the first gate, they come to service your air conditioner or your plumber, they pay a fee, and that accumulates about 10% of all of our revenue. But assessments clearly is the major revenue source of Kika. Okay. By the way, this presentation, you may be surprised, but will be on the webpage for you to review. Let's talk a little bit about that assessment revenue, so you know that how it breaks up, because since assessment is the largest piece, is $12 million. By the way, we collected $24,000 in late charges for assessments. I was surprised to see that. So people do pay late, but they pay too for being late. So $24,000 is a nice chunk of money for people not paying on time. But in any event, if you look at this chart, this will give you a little bit of breakdown of who pays our assessment. Who pays our assessment? So improved properties makes up of 71.5%. So your homes, your villas, your condos, those are the primary source of our revenue, of our income. Okay. Unimproved properties, those are lots that haven't been built on yet, and they pay 50%. They're only 4.6, and that's diminishing as time goes by, as we all know. Commercial properties, we talk a lot about this. The resort and some of the Kiwa Club properties, they pay 10.9% of our assessment. So those are the three large pieces that make up of our assessment. So again, improved properties are the largest piece of our revenue. By the way, in that commercial property, just to break it down for you, resort is 1.1 million. The resort is 1.1 million. So all of the resort properties, the golf courses, etc., is the majority of that commercial property. The other 300,000 is made up by the partners, or the property that is owned by the partners. So I thought this would be interesting for you to see and understand. Let's talk a little bit about expenses. Okay, so the total expenses, operating expenses for the year was $12,075,000. Okay, and of no surprise, I think to most of us should be that 55% of all our expenses are made of payroll. So our people are a critical piece of our doings, are a critical piece of how we get things done. So when Dave mentioned, I believe Dave mentioned it, right, with reference to installing a new plan for us to be able to retain and recruit better employees, you understand why. People are a critical piece of how things get done in the island, and they're a critical piece of our expenses, 55%. So we have to stay on top of that to be sure that we're recruiting effectively and we're retaining effectively as well too. Let's talk about our reserve fund. Very important part of our financials. Okay, our reserve fund revenue for the year amounted to $7,123,000, the highest ever. The highest ever. Okay, so that's made up of 669. I'm going to break it down to you in a minute. 6,619 of revenues, and then over 500,000 of investment income that we generated from our present reserves. All right, so let me break down that reserve revenue, and if you see is the majority, the big line there is the CTR money, meaning the 0.5% that we receive on every sale transaction in the island. Last year, it accumulated to over $900 million of sales transactions, which 0.5% is that $4.5 million that we received. Okay, assessments, we all pay when in our assessment, a portion of it goes to our reserve account. The access fees, we've changed this a little bit in the present budget. Previous years, it was determined that a flat $500,000 would go from the access fees, the commercial fees that the commercial vehicles pay. This coming year, because the main reason why we charge commercial vehicles a fee when they go through the gate is because of the use and tear of our roads, the wear and tear on our roads. Okay, and so we believe that most of that income should go to reserves for future maintenance of our roads, in lieu of just a flat 500,000. The amount was over $1 million, so the majority of it was going into operating, into the operating. We don't believe that that's the right, and so this year, in this year's budget, we changed that mechanism, and all of the CAT fees will go into the reserve account, minus the amount that it costs us to manage it, which is about $225,000. There's people that manage the issuing of the CATs, there's expenses at the gate, etc. That only amounts to $225,000. That we charge, that we allow operating to be paid for, but the rest of it, whatever it goes to the reserve account, with the idea, not the idea, but the concept that they should be paying for the use, wear and tear of our roads. Okay, and then investment income, which I mentioned before, 500,000. Let me give you a little bit of the history of the CTR, what's happened in the CTR. If you look, the last 2 years have been, enormous. I mean, we know what the sales on the island have been. So last year we said, well, this will never happen again. That's what we said, which obviously we were wrong. Nobody expected for the sales transaction to surpass what happened in 2020, and they did. Okay, but you can see the difference between previous years. I mean, historically, in the last 5 years or so, we've averaged about $1.5 million, about $1.5 million every year. And then 2020, because of the pandemic, we know what happened, and in 2021, even more so. I can report now. Let me report two things to you. I don't expect $4.5 million in 2022. Okay, number one. We did budget $2 million, and we budgeted $2 million based on the projections that the real estate people told us that they expect during the year. So they expect sales to go down to then, right, less than $500 million, right? So for us to get that 0.5%. So that's what we budget. The first 2 months of the year, we blew the budget out of the water. It was really much higher. But April and May last year was over $600,000 each month. We don't expect that to happen again. So even though the first 2 months show, a large variance against the budget, we still expect by the end of the year to be close to that budget number of $2 million. I think we've seen sales transactions go down substantially, nowhere at the same level of last year. Okay? So, and let's talk about some of the expenses that are charged to these, to the reserve monies. Okay? Number one expense is drainage. 43% of everything we spend from that reserve account goes to drainage. And 22% goes to street resurfacing. Now that may change a little bit this coming year because we're in, as Dave mentioned, and I'm sure that Shannon will mention as well too, we're in a major repaving program right now that will spend over $3.5 million on that repaving program alone. So that may change a little bit, but drainage continues to be a critical, very important piece of our reserve funding, okay, our reserve expenses. And then you see the other one. Number three is leisure trails, yeah, we spend 18% of our reserve money goes to maintain, keep up our leisure trails. So, which means your bicycle trails. Last year we had the major investment was our bicycle trails, enlarging the bicycle trails. That's in here. Okay? That was the big. And then I just wanted to give you. This is really the last line of which is very important. Should be very important to us. Okay, what is after all the money that you spend on repaving roads and the drainage and whatever? What do we got in our account for future expenses? Okay, because these expenses are projected over 40-year period, 30-year period to maintain our roads, maintain our drainage, maintaining our trails, etc. And right now, if you look, the way that the fund has increased in 2017, we had 6,151,000. Okay, and people were, I don't doubt that people would have been concerned at that time. Maybe that, that just didn't seem like enough. Didn't seem like enough money put in our reserve account for our future expenditures. But as you can see, that has grown substantially, and in 2021, we took a big jump. We took a big jump, and now, if you look at from 2017 to 2021, it 2.5 times what we had in 2017. We're up to $15 million. And that should make us feel more comfortable, shouldn't make us feel completely comfortable. We want to be sure that that's the right amount. And that's why we have a reserve specialist to come back and tell us, are you reserving properly? Do you have enough funds for future expenses? We want to be sure that those that are here today are paying for the maintenance that's required, in the future. Okay, so I want to thank you for giving me the pleasure to serve as your treasurer this past year. It's been a pleasure. I've learned a lot about Akika. I've tried to the best of my abilities to fulfill the duty of protecting and managing our community's finance. Thank you.
Gosh, I have to follow Alex and all those slides. All right, good morning again. Well, 2021 was certainly an eventful year for us. It was filled with great highlights, challenges, and changes. One of the biggest highlights that we haven't mentioned here yet today was welcoming the world to Kiawah Island with the 2021 PGA Championship. Every island entity had to work together to support the success of the event this year. For Kika, we dealt with access control for members and guests and contractors and ensured that our common properties looked their very best, among other things. Our staff put in a lot of hours during the weeks leading up to the PGA event and through that week. When we all saw the coverage of the PGA Championship and how beautifully Kiawah showed off, we were proud of what we did to support the success of the event. In terms of challenges, we continued to deal with the pandemic. 2021 arrived along with the relief of vaccines and the difficulties of new variants. We continued to address new challenges to keep our members safe and our staff safe. Not everyone agreed with our decisions, but they were always made with the interest to protect everyone involved. There were some days where we really juggled, trying to keep association functions going when teams were impacted by COVID. But I'm happy to say we kept the company running. So like you, I hope that the pandemic is a distant memory for all of us. Kika itself also went through changes in 2021 and early into 2022, as we've turned over a number of key positions in our company. In addition to the COO change, we've also transitioned our directors of operations, finance, recreation, and security. They will hate that I am about to do this to them. But standing in the back of the room is your leadership team from Kika, all of our directors. Thank you for doing that. We have such a strong and talented leadership team. It is absolutely my privilege to work with each of them. Kika is a service organization. As Alex shared with you, 55% of our annual budget is related to payroll. Our staff is committed to the service of the membership, our service to you each day. If you will indulge me right now, I'd like to take a few moments today to introduce and recognize two of our staff members who are here with us today. Both of these staff members have now passed the milestone of service to the membership for 25 years. If you would come forward. And stand right here. Right there, perfect. This is fun, isn't it, Sharon? So let me introduce these two individuals to you. Sharon Green is our longest-serving staff member. She celebrated 25 years with Kika last year. Sharon has served in our security department in various capacities for her entire time with us. Today, Sharon is part of our commercial pass office team. Alex, she's taking in that money for you. This is the woman right here. Okay. Prior to Kika, Sharon was actually with the resort, so she's worked on Kiowa for 40 years. Now, there's only one negative about Sharon. Sharon cheers for the wrong college football team. She cheers for Bama. No, go Tigers. Charles Maxwell is standing next to her, and Charles just celebrated 25 years with Kika in February. Charles is a senior crew leader for our Land and Lakes Department. If you're driving the island early in the morning, you may see Charles out blowing the roads and waving to traffic going by. When tropical systems have hit us, Charles is often the first one back in to start the recovery. Now, Charles has told me that he's retiring in December. While I am hoping that Charles would change his mind and stay a little bit longer, I know. He wants to spend time with all those grandkids. So 25 years with a company is an amazing milestone. On behalf of the full Kika Board of Directors, on behalf of your membership and your leadership team, thank you for what you've done in serving our members for 25 years. Okay, that was just fun. All right, moving on. In my role as COO, I get the opportunity to work with most of our company's task forces and committees, not just finance. Through this, I have the opportunity to get to know and listen to our membership. There is a theme which has been solidifying to me through this work, which we're taking forward with the staff as we move into 2022. Our members are passionate about this place, this island, because it is where they connect with their neighbors and friends, with their families, or sometimes just relaxing and reconnecting with themselves. And Kika plays an important part in this, in preserving this place and fostering these connections. In 2022, we'll be actively working to preserve this place by continuing to support the Kiowa Standard or working to continue to raise it. This includes the execution of the $3.3 million road paving project, which Alex referred to and Dave did, the completion of your 6 flood management projects, the reinvestment in our landscaping and maintaining that PGA Championship look and feel, yes, we heard you, again this year. Continuing to maintain our strong financial health, as Alex discussed. Continuing to monitor our resilience thresholds. Working on security and enforcement issues for you. And the protection of what makes Kiowa unique and beautiful. In 2022, we will also actively be working to optimize connections. We want you to feel a part of Kiowa, whether you are here full-time or only for a few weeks for a year. We want to optimize our member facilities, continuing the work of our task forces to review our amenities and our sandcastle experience to enhance both for you. We're going to optimize our service, investing in our staff and supporting strong customer service standards. We'll continue to improve our technology so you may connect with us how you choose and find information when you choose. And we'll keep you informed about your Kiowa community so you have the information you need when you're ready to engage with Kiowa. We look forward to continuing to serve you in 2022. All right, next on the agenda is the outgoing director recognition. Today, I have one outgoing director, Dave Morley, our chair. He has opted not to give an outgoing director's speech today in addition to the chair report he has already given. But he cannot get out of a thank you. And knowing Dave, he's going to hate this. While Dave today is ending his 3 years of service to the KICA Board of Directors, Dave is actually completing 10 years of service to KICA today. He started his service with the KICA Finance Committee in 2012 and moved to the KICA Board in 2019. Through this time, Dave has used both his strategic planning skills and his financial acumen for KICA's benefit. Two major accomplishments I'd like to highlight from Dave's years of service are: he assisted in establishing KICA's investment policies instead of keeping our money in low-return bank accounts. This involved lots of discussions to determine the right risk level for KICA and helping members to feel comfortable with the risk we would take. If I remember correctly, Dave, this has now contributed an additional $1 million to KICA. Dave was also involved in the development of KICA's flood management work from its inception. He headed the committee working to determine how KICA could address island flooding. He developed the projects with a team of members and experts, helped to determine the funding, and then championed it when we took our show on the road, Dave, with various entities, constituencies, and ultimately with you, the membership. It was an ambitious set of projects, and as I shared with you earlier, we'll complete the 6 projects later this year. Dave originally served as our board treasurer, and in September 2020, he moved to the position of chair. We ask members of our community to step forward into volunteer positions. For our board members, there are lots of meetings. There's reading of material, and there's hours of commitment. Holding the role of treasurer or chair, as Dave has now done, comes with even more meetings and time commitments. Coming into the COO role in May of 2021, I can tell you firsthand the hours that Dave has given to KICA and to me personally. We meet every Friday morning at 8 a.m. I call it Date with Dave, and I'm going to miss those. 10 years ago, Dave chose to step forward and offer his gifts to the Kiowa community. And today is our moment to say thank you as he completes his decade of service.
Thank you.
All right, so now the next thing on the agenda is member comment session. So today, member comments will be received live and via Zoom. All comments are advisory in nature to the Board of Directors. If you have a comment to make in the room, please raise your hand and a mic will be brought to you. If you're joining us via Zoom today, please raise your hand on Zoom. My executive assistant, Ellen, is handling our participants via Zoom. We will start first with comments in the room. For the record, please state your name and your Kiowa property address at the beginning of your comments. So that we may hear from as many of our members as possible, please try to keep your comments brief, limiting them to 2 minutes. Are there any speakers here in the room today? Raise your hand. All right, wow, you guys are a good group. Ellen, do we have any comments from Zoom today? All right. Dave, back to you.
Then I will ask for a motion to adjourn our annual meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Brad and Alex. The meeting is now adjourned, but we'll ask the audience to stay in place because we'll invite Lisa up to take my seat here. And the new KICA board will start their meeting to have the election of officers.
Thank you, I got it. Oh, it's nice up here.
It's quick.
Love it.
All right, Lisa's here. Welcome,
Here.
Lisa.
Thank you.
So just like any KICA board meeting, we start with member comments on any agenda topic. As we did previously, we'll take comments in the room first, then on Zoom. If any member here today has a comment, if you'd please raise your hand, and a mic will be brought to you. Okay? Give us just a minute to get there. He's coming from the back, Kathy.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Kathy Pumphrey, 525 Bufflehead. I just want to thank Alex for an incredible treasurer's report. Having been on the KICA board before and attending all of these meetings for almost 10 years now, I think that was the most thorough explanation. And I hope that in its wisdom, the current board that's seated up there will re-elect him as treasurer.
Thank you, Kathy. Any other comments in the room today? No? Ellen, any comments via Zoom? Okay. Jerry, I turn the meeting over to you.
Buddy, I'm Jerry McGee's. It's a hot mic. I guess so. Welcome to the second part where we are now going to proceed with the election and appointment of the directors for the coming year.
Well, as a new person, I'm not exactly sure how it works. Can I make a motion?
You can.
Okay. So I'd like to make a motion that we consider adopting a slate of candidates. And can I just go ahead?
You can go ahead.
I think we ought to adopt a slate that includes Jerry as chair, Beth as vice chair, Alex as treasurer, and Brad as secretary.
I second.
Can we vote?
Any
All in
discussion?
favor?
Any
Oh, sorry,
discussion?
any discussion?
Any discussion?
We need, yes, if there's any discussion or anybody would like to make any comments about that?
I do have a comment to make. This is a philosophical comment. It's not meant to be critical of any board member. I'm not in favor of slate voting. I would have preferred to have individual votes on individual officers with discussion on each one. So based upon that, I'm going to abstain from voting. This is nothing against any board member at all. It's just my opinion of how this should be done.
Okay, any other comments? All right, all those in favor of the slate that has been proposed and seconded, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed or abstaining?
Abstain?
So the motion is carried, and I welcome our new board, and we hope to serve you well. Thank you. Okay.
Congratulations.
It's now up to me to say a few words, and I'm going to be a man of few words, but I am not going to do a lot. My wife said to me, well, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to do one thing, and that's I'm going to very heavily rely on the expertise of the ladies and gentlemen that are sitting in front of you. These are very capable people. I'm honored that I was the chair, but any one of them could be the chair. and could run this organization seamlessly. First of all, we have an incredible staff, and thank you for your applause. Their dedication and their knowledge makes this place really hum. And I think it's the board's responsibility to support them, to listen to them, and to make sure that their needs are met, but not to run them. That is very clear. That is not our mission. Our mission is strategic, overall guidance, supervision, stewardship, and making sure that we set the right strategies. Kiwa at this point is at a very, very critical point in its lifetime. The partners are winding down their experience here, but they're going to be here, and we must work with them. And we must manage and make sure that the key reasons that we all came to Kiwa are preserved. We face many challenges going forward, and every single board member is going to have a key responsibility, which we are going to assign in a meeting that we'll have next week. I want to talk about transparency. Brad McIlvaine and Dave DeStefano fought very hard for transparency, sometimes to their own detriment. And yet, in the end, they are absolutely right. And with actually Dave Morley's leadership, we have moved forward in making some of that. But I intend to take it to another degree. And I'm willing to put myself in a hot seat. And I'll come to you, and I'll sit in front of you, and I'll take and answer the tough questions that you are going to propose. But make no mistake, the reason that my wife Tammy and I came here was because of the incredible balance of nature and beautiful, beautiful properties that are here. We now face extreme, extreme challenges in all the building that's going to take place over the next few years. All of this does not come without a price. We have lost a major part of the West Beach area, and that will be hopefully a beautiful facility, but it will also mean that we've lost a lot of preserve for wildlife. And we have to find a balance now. We have to be very mindful of all of the incredible assets that this island has and doing everything we can to preserve them. I had the great honor of playing pickleball with my grandchildren the other day, and all they did was say, "Wow, can we come again?" Now, to get grandchildren to come and visit their grandfather is really quite something. But we tend to overlook the incredible assets that this community has. It's so blessed and so beautiful. So I'm going to dedicate myself to preserving that and to making sure that everything I do personally, working with the staff, working with this incredible group of people, is to bring us together in some great sense of optimism and being positive. We have dwelt way too long in a negative space. Every one of the directors here is dedicated to working together. I pledge to you, and you can fire me if I don't achieve it. I will. I'm a little Irish guy. You can kick my can all over the place if you want to. You know. But seriously, I've had a roller coaster ride on this board, and I'm looking forward to moving forward. I'm blessed with the staff. I'm blessed with great people. I'll take your input. We all will. We'll listen. We'll open more meetings, and we will go forward as three people. You, this board, and our incredible staff. What a team. And I urge you all to get more involved. The voices that you bring are so important. You're out there every day. You live in different parts of this island. There are many communities here. We need to make sure that all the communities get represented. And that means talk to me. My email is there. I will answer you. I'm not afraid to take tough questions. So I thank you for listening. I'm looking forward to this year, and hopefully I'll leave it better than I found it. And with this talented group of people, I think I will. Thank you all very much.
All right, once again, we have a member comment session. If anyone has a comment to be made on any Kika topic, please raise your hand. Kathy? All right, they're coming back to you again. Here comes Hayes.
Kathy Pumphrey, 525 Bufflehead. I'm surprised nobody else is raising their hand to speak, but and I think one of the challenges I didn't hear you really address, Jerry, is what's been going on with defaming and really marginalizing board members who are really trying to support the community. And I think this last year has been just very difficult for all of us in the community. And I hope that the board will take a leadership role in stopping some of that dialogue that's going on, that has said things about members that, whether it's us as members who are posting something, sometimes people are afraid to say anything because they don't know what's going to happen and who's going to blow back on them. I am one that doesn't tend to worry too much about that, although last night I did lose a lot of sleep over this meeting today. And I hope that this board really takes this seriously. The other things I think you can accomplish, in the last 2 years, the board has not accomplished being reasonable with one another and with the community. So I hope that changes.
And thank you for that. I think that is a very important point. I thought I don't tend to write things down as much as I should, but I very well should have addressed that. We are moving forward. The vote today was a statement that we believe the people and the talents that we have are the best folks that we could have to take this forward. And I was looking at Dave Morley, and I saw the big check that he got when he left here. So I'm hoping when I leave, I get a big check too. But remember, this is a volunteer group, and we're so blessed to have people who are willing to step up. Kathy, I take those remarks very seriously, and I pledge to you I will do everything I can to stop the vitriol and the petty infighting and all of that. Bring it to us. And then if we discuss it, then we can put it away without a bunch of, backroom talking. And so I take your point very to heart. Thank you for speaking up. And she's right. If you got something to say, you're not going to get beaten down or belittled or anything, no matter what it is. We have to listen to you. That's our charge and responsibility. You are the people who elected us. And you elected this guy to serve another 3 years. Why he wants to do that, I don't know. All right. Thank you all.
Wait. Any others?
Yeah, any other?
Yes, sir. Sorry, Hayes is coming to you.
I'm James Reinhardt, 243 High Dunes. And I have a follow-on question. What entity is responsible for the administration of these toxic listservs? IQ, I don't know what entity is responsible for it, but that's where we see a lack of civility. And I'm curious to know whether we can do a better job of maintaining civility on that forum.
Mary?
Yes. Brad will address that.
IKEA is a private forum. It's managed by an administrator, Lynn Macaluso. I would encourage all of you that when you see things like that, they're your friends or your neighbors who are posting things that are just nasty, defamatory, do you actually speak to them and stop them from doing that? It's not acceptable for this island to act in that way. It's not acceptable for our members to act in that way. And we will speak up, but it's also for everybody there, out in all of our members. If you know these people, you tell them it's not okay. Hopefully you believe that it's not okay. So that's what I would ask. And hopefully IKEA, it is a toxic, it's a dumpster dive most of the time. And it's unfortunate. And it's also a lot of bullying going on. If you raise something, as Kathy said, you get a few people that come back and make comments that are belittling. We saw one last night that was incredibly offensive. And it's just inappropriate. So I ask all of us, not only the ones sitting up here, but all of us on this island, we're better than that. So let's act it. Thank you.
Anyone else on the Zoom call? If you have anything to say, please do speak up now. We're here for you. We will listen to your comments and respond.
Hi, Jerry. We do have two people on Zoom with raised hands. Our first commenter is Scott Nelson. Scott, you should be unmuted.
I asked this question of the previous board and never really got a response, so I would like to ask the current board to conduct an investigation of the requirements of the ARB membership and control. Many of the residents have expressed privately and publicly that the ARB is not responsive to the residents and is not performing in many instances in the best interests of the association or its residents. And I've been told that the criteria for KICA control of the ARB is a supermajority, but I've never heard the board ever tell us what that criteria is. And I would like the board to commit to do that analysis and tell us how far away we are, or if we've achieved the standard, to commence procedures to take the ARB back, or take the ARB under the KICA umbrella so that it can be responsive to our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, Scott, at our last meeting, we passed, established a charter for a governance committee, and one of the goals of the governance committee is looking at all these issues and reporting back to the board with recommendations. So that is a priority for this year. It is also a task force. We are going to get that done this year. This is not something that we're going to kick the can down the road. We're going to get that done this year and come back with recommendations. And ARB obviously will be on there. It may be also identifying we'll be saying also what the covenants and bylaws provide, and also the things that we may not have certain options. So it's going to be a realistic look at what we can do, what we can't do, and with certain suggestions. Some of them may be covenant changes, which we may be coming to you as members to approve. And we can do that just so that you know. The one thing that's been floated around is this 20% requirement, that when the partners went below 20%, there was a lot of misconception about what that meant. What it meant is that we no longer need to seek their approval for a covenant change, so they don't have a veto right. It doesn't mean it's automatic. It means that they can't block it. We still have to pass it, and there are heightened quorum requirements and heightened majority requirements for passing a covenant change, and primarily those are there to protect you, so that these covenants can't be changed willy-nilly because we all rely on them. But we probably will be coming to you with some covenant change requests, and so please stay tuned on that. And as we work through the process, and we'll let you know as we go through what we're seeing as we work through the process.
Thanks, Brad. Next question.
It is from Debbie Perlmutter. Debbie, you should be unmuted.
Thank you very much. Debbie Perlmutter, 425C Lavender. I wanted to echo what Kathy Pumphrey's statement was, very eloquently stated. I also want to thank Jerry for setting a very good tone for this first meeting. It was a year ago, basically today, at the last annual meeting and first meeting of the year, that a curveball was thrown into the mix, which made this past year very difficult and made it seem like the membership was not first and foremost in the Kika board mind. This year, it seems that the membership is first and foremost, and that the Kika board is showing that is true, that they want to work for us and that they are volunteering for all the right reasons. And I welcome the new board member, Lisa, and I give my very best luck to everyone on the board to serve in that capacity. I want to also thank them for continuing to have the committees and the task forces, which I think are really very important and should help them be able to think through issues that they don't have to do all by themselves. So thank you very much, Gary. Thank you very much to the board. And I hope that this year is a lot less bullying and a lot more positive energy going into making this island the paradise that it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you. Yeah, thank
Any other comments?
We have one more, Jerry. And she did have her hand up, and now her hand has gone. Nope. No further comments.
All right. I think that concludes all of our business, unless anyone else had any new business they want to discuss or bring up.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn, second.
Yeah. Well, I was going to do that. You stole the words. Already, all right, this is a fight. All right, thank you all for being here. Thank you for your participation. Look forward to more interaction in the year to come.
Very.